You know, I think a lot of people think of the DJI Ronin 4D as a one-trick pony. They're there for that fourth axis chicken head movement. But what I've realized after 2 years of owning one is that this camera can not only do what it's designed to do really well, which is be a poor man's Steadicam, but can also do cinema camera things even better than dedicated cinema cameras. So today we're gonna go through over a dozen things that this camera can do that's even better than a dedicated cinema camera. This video is sponsored by MusicBed. So before we get started, let's talk about the Canon C400, because really it's just a stand-in for any dedicated cinema camera. It's an incredible camera, and I still love using it, and I'm currently shooting a feature doc on it. By no means is this a slight against this camera or something like an FX9 or FX6. They're all beautiful cameras. But I do want to highlight the Ronin 4D and how it can still function as a dedicated cinema camera and still do some things better than a C400 can do. The C400 will be our lackey in this video, but it is an incredible camera. Here, we're showcasing the DJI Ronin 4D. So I've done 2 other videos on the DJI Ronin 4D. The first on how awesome the fourth axis is and how it's really become a bit of a revolution in the cinema camera space, especially for solo operators like myself. But it also is a completely integrated system, whether it's a transmission to an external monitor, autofocus, all in one system, which is really nice. So today we're not gonna go over all of those different features. You can watch those videos to get those. We're gonna go through the different things this camera can do that you wouldn't think it'd be normally able to do. First up is the fact that it can be its own tripod fluid head. Now, if you had a Canon C400 or type of cinema camera like this, and you were out and about and wanted to get some B-roll shots but didn't have a tripod on you or didn't want to lug it up a big mountain, you might be able to find a flat surface and be able to actually get a tripod-like shot. But with this type of camera, or pretty much any other type of camera, you're pretty much stuck with a locked off straight ahead shot. If you wanted to do any sort of movement, you're gonna get some jitters and shake. But if you had the Ronin 4D, that wouldn't be the case, because this has a fluid head built into it. You put this camera flat on a surface and use the joystick to create yourself a fluid head shot, which you just can't do with any other dedicated cinema camera. This also works really well if you have a tripod that's just not as strong enough for a really heavy cinema camera. If I had this fully rigged out with a monitor and a transmitter and a longer lens, then something even like a small rig Tribex may not be strong enough to really give you a smooth, fluid movement. But with the Ronin 4D, because it has a fluid head built into it, the tripod doesn't really have to be that strong in order to get a really nice shot. And this is also true for static shots as well, where the head is taking all the shake out of anything that's happening with your dinky little tripod. And then finally, if you don't have any tripod at all or nowhere to set the camera down, you can just hand hold it and still get that fluid head motion. Another thing the Ronin 4D is really good at is shooting straight up or down to get really unique looking shots. And I've done this a lot, whether it's an artist painting a portrait by the riverside or shooting up at trees to get those vines and moss hanging off of the trees in the south or here in Appalachia. So you can add a lot of texture to your films by using the Ronin 4D. If I was going to use a dedicated cinema camera to get a similar shot, I would either have to rebalance it on a gimbal or I would have to have a second B cam on hand. But with the Ronin 4D, I know as long as I have this with me, I can get all the variety of shots that I need. When I'm operating a camera, I really like to have a 2-handle setup, the Bayhem setup, if you will, where you have 2 handles on either side, and it just creates a really nice center of gravity and also is a really steady way to hold a camera. However, because I'm a single solo operator and don't have a focus puller, I have to have my focus and all my controls on these 2 handles, which the DJI Ronin 4D does really, really well. I never have to take my hands off these controllers to operate the camera, and that includes pull my own focus, which I always do. Now, for a cinema camera like the C400, you can do that as well. You need to add a cage, a side handle, a follow focus, and then a couple extra batteries to power all of those things that you add to the camera. So usually I find myself holding and focusing a camera like this with one hand on the controller and one doing the focus. And that is not ideal because it's just not the steadiest way to hold the camera. And even though this camera is steady when you hold it with 2 hands, it's definitely not light. And right now, this thing's getting pretty heavy. And I'm an old man, as I just turned 40 years old. So sometimes it's nice to have a younger chap do the work for you. And I can still control focus and where the camera points. Faster, please. All right, let's go a little faster now. Faster. Let's do it one more time. When using most cameras, you're pretty much stuck with whatever size the camera is. But the DJI Ronin 4D can be miniaturized. And now you have a smaller and much lighter cinema camera package. So this is the DJI Ronin 4D Flex system. We're actually able to take the gimbal head off of the cinema camera and put it on this small little base, reposition your handles and screen, and then you are a much smaller and lighter and more inconspicuous package. The only other camera that can do this is the Sony Venice, where you can take off the actual sensor head and put it in unique places like they did in Top Gun Maverick and F1. But the Ronin 4D can also do this, which makes it really light as a handheld setup. This is much smaller and lighter than any mirrorless camera on a one-handed gimbal, and you have way more control and have a dedicated 5-inch screen still available to actually view what you're shooting. But you can also use this in a variety of ways. I've seen people put the Flex system on a really long monopod and get epic shots for real estate or any other situation where that would be needed. So yes, you could use the Flex like this. You do lose the 4th axis because you no longer have the little chicken head, which is a bummer. So I don't shoot a ton like this. But where this system is really good is when you want to mount the actual gimbal head in unique places. So that's what we're gonna do next. Now, because the Flex system makes the camera so compact, it offers up a wide range of different mounting options. And here we have just a simple suction cup onto the windshield of a car, and that means you can get some really cool driving shots. Also, while I'm thinking about it, a strong shout out to iFootage spider crabs. They are so cool, so useful, and I use this thing all the time, especially for mounting cameras in unique positions. And this is one of the great strengths of the DJI Ronin 4D, is that it has so many different applications, especially when it's in flex mode. It'd be really difficult to get a shot like this on a normal cinema camera that also has 3-axis of stabilization. Now, if you put the Flex on the front of the car, you can get a 360-degree view of everything around you. What also goes along with incredible car mountability and this remote monitor from DJI, which is a beautiful 7-inch 2200 nit, maybe 2000 nits of brightness, is that I can now control everything. So if I want instead to get this awesome shot of Elliot driving, I could do that. Or if I wanted to film the little power shot, V1, filming us, I could do that too. This may be the most epic footage of a power shot of all time. And this is one of the beautiful things about the Ronin 4D. I have a 3-axis gimbal getting this epic shot of the Canon PowerShot V1, and there are very few cinema cameras that can shoot 8K RAW and have that incredible image quality while also having this operability and versatility. So this camera gives you tons of versatility, and you can mount this thing almost anywhere. And with this remote monitor, I can take the handles and can control it myself. Back in some of my younger and stupider days, I would sit in the back of a truck or out the back of this Subaru to film cyclists. And the shots were cool, and I was on a gimbal, but it'd been so much nicer just to mount this thing and then control it from the comfort of the front seat of the car. And because you can control the camera and the transmission is so good on the Ronin 4D, I could be sitting in a car behind us and still control it. So if you were shooting a film and you were getting a Children of Men type shot, and you wanted to spin around, then you get a 360-degree view in the camera. And so you can see out the windows and all the people who are coming to try to burn up the car. You can see the horror of people's eyes inside. Keep spinning. But one thing the Ronin 4D can't do is get really good music for your projects. And for that, every single time I turn to MusicBed. And the reason I choose MusicBed is because they have a real artist making real music. And a lot of the other platforms these days are using generative AI to make music that you can license for your projects. But when I needed really high quality music for my fiction film Beat Down, which you can watch on this channel, I turned to MusicBed because I wanted that true soundtrack feel. You know, Lord, all I'm needing you, just like I need an anchor. Hey! Hey, that's my camper! While I have tried out a lot of the other music licensing platforms, and they're fine for laying underneath a YouTube video, but when I'm trying to make a film, I want songs that have real emotion, real heartache, and real human connection embedded within the sound. And you just can't get that with some of the other music platforms, which have moved away from using real artists and instead to generative AI. And as a creator myself who has some serious concerns about generative AI, I don't want to see other artists being replaced by an algorithm or a prompt. And so MusicBed has taken a stand against generative AI, and therefore they are my #1 choice when I need real high quality music for my projects. Because MusicBed has such a vast library, that means that no matter the mood or feeling of your project, MusicBed has a song to match. For example, an action movie. Or maybe it's a more somber tone. Click the link in the description below to start your free music bed trial. So this one is in the Ronin 4D's wheelhouse, but I think it bears mentioning. So instead of actually laying down 100 foot of dolly track, the Ronin 4D's fourth axis can act like a dolly for your cinema camera. So this next use case is actually what made me think of this video, because the Ronin 4D allowed me to do something that I do quite often, but in a much easier way, especially compared to a traditional cinema camera. And that's with a person working on a computer at a desk. I was just shooting a feature doc not too long ago where I had someone sitting at a desk just like this, but maybe even tighter to the back wall, and there was no room because the desk went all the way to the end of the hall for me to get in there and film something like this. Which means that I had to figure out a way to film from this angle, which is not very comfortable or easy. Now with the Ronin 4D, shooting something like this is much, much easier because, as I mentioned, the gimbal head can act basically like a fluid head tripod, and it can turn side to side. And so you can face the camera this direction, much easier to see my screen. I don't have to be straining and leaning over, and I can just move the gimbal head. So now I have not only a shot of someone working, I'm seeing their eyes, but I also have a steady tripod-like shot. I'm not hand-holding and there's not a bunch of micro jitters in the shot. Instead, it is steady and it feels like I'm on a tiny fluid head tripod on the back of the desk. So I just got back from a shoot day and now I have 4 fully depleted batteries that need to be ready for 7 a.m. the next day. And if I had a Canon camera, or really any normal cinema camera, I would have probably a 1-bay charger, or if I spent an extra $500, a 2-bay charger, and I would need to charge all 4 of those batteries, which means you're probably waking up in the middle of the night to change out those batteries to make sure they're all fully charged. Whereas DJI and the Ronin 4D have this beautiful 4-bay charger that allows you to charge 4 batteries all at once, and that you can sleep through the night nice and sound. And that isn't even mentioning the fact that these batteries power everything that you need to power on your camera rig. The DJI Ronin 4D has a beautiful 5-inch 1500 nit monitor powered by this battery. It has this incredible transmitter that goes to that 7-inch monitor, which we've seen a lot today, powered by this battery. It has a follow focus on your actual manual focus lens, powered by this battery. Your focus pulling, powered by the battery, and everything else that the camera does, including a gimbal and a 4th axis and a LiDAR autofocus unit. So all of that is powered by a single battery. Now, if you tried to put that on a normal cinema camera, you're looking at 5 or 6 extra batteries on top of your actual batteries for your camera. And so that's also a lot more charging time, a lot more chargers, and a lot more headache. Now, I'm someone who loves to use manual focus lenses like the Zeiss Otis, the Cooke SP3s, or the Typox Samara Cs, but obviously they lack autofocus, but not on the Ronin 4D. Very few other cinema cameras can do this, where you're actually autofocusing manual focus lenses. And that's because it has a LiDAR unit at the top of the camera, which shoots out a laser and then pulls focus for you, as you can see, and gets what you want in focus. Now, I'll be the first to admit the Ronin 4D LiDAR unit is not perfect. You really have to dial in those manual focus lenses so that it actually focuses correctly. But once you do really spend the time and dial it in, it works pretty great, especially for subjects that are more than a few feet away. Another beautiful thing that this camera can do that no other dedicated cinema camera can do is it can actually change the mount on the front of the camera. And so if you're shooting with people who are also shooting with the Sony FX6 or FX9, you can use the E mount. And right now I have the M mount on here because that's what my Cooke SP3s are in, so that I can adapt them to a wide range of mirrorless mounts. But say suddenly we have to change to a completely different mount, then we can do that. And you have an M mount, an E mount, the DJI's own DL mount, and an L mount. So if you're using Lumix cams or Sony cameras or even Nikon cameras, since those can take E mounts, then you can quickly swap out the mount and put on completely different lens sets. And no other camera can really do that. So there you go, why I think a lot of people think of the Ronin 4D as that one-trick pony, that 4th axis chicken head. I hope this video has shown that the Ronin 4D can actually do a lot of the things that a normal cinema camera can do, but even better. And I think it is one of the most innovative and interesting cameras to ever be released. And that's why I use it on a feature doc and a lot of branded content and short commercial work as well. So let me know in the comments below what you think of the DJI Ronin 4D, and make sure to check out Music Bed by clicking the link in the description below. And we'll see you in the next video.